Welcome back to Man Across New Horizons. I'm dear darling. I shall see what's going on a lovely island Fawnhollow today. What should we talk about today? I don't really know. I'm trying to write my short story, I suppose, for my writing group, that sort of thing. Haven't really It's another one, I'm increasingly finding with my prompts is I'm starting to write them later and later and later as I start running out of ideas. Or I suppose that's sort of the fuel to the fire of that creative spark. It happens. Lulls in creativity, lulls in motivation, I suppose, for writing things like that. Doesn't help that, and doing a lot of drawing and stuff recently as well, which makes more time. But anyway, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 2:31 PM on Wednesday, July 6th, 2022. I've got kind of an idea, I just don't really know how exactly I'm going to structure it at the moment, so that I'm trying to sort out, but if I don't, then I don't. We'll see how that goes. I don't really know what to talk about today, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I could talk about that other story I was going to talk about, when I talked about bowling, instead of bowling. Not instead of bowling. It was just another rather eventful thing which happened to me on that Sunday. I was trying to think. Wait, what day was it? On Sunday, which I said I'd bring up about on Monday, and it nothing to do with bowling, whatever. We went to a town, I suppose, with it's got big shopping centres, got bowling alleys, got a lot of other sort of recreational things going on, high streets, there's pubs or whatever. Sometimes we go there around night time, we see people drinking at pubs or bars, etc, etc. But there's a whole range of things going on over there because it's a whole high street. There's a lot of things to do. Of course, I don't really go to pubs or anything anymore, but this place has a lot of nice areas to go to, and the shopping centre is basically the sort of central awesome part which people like. And it's even crazy because there used to not be things like a bowling alley and a cinema in that shopping centre. There used to be on a separate other complex or something, which was really annoyingly far away from a train station. But now they built this here, and it's pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, it was nothing to do with bowling or whatever. It was just when we finished up our bowling, we hung around the arcade for longer than perhaps we really needed to do anything, to get that yo-yo. Oh, I guess I have 3 stories. No, I already talked about the arcade story in the bowling alley. Long and short, we spent way too much money just to get a silly old yo-yo, just for fun, And okay, the yo-yo itself, yeah, definitely it probably cost £1 or something. We probably cost it £10, 10 times as much. But the fun of it was actually playing the arcade games, of course, in and of itself. That's what you're paying for. Entertainment-wise, not really the actual prizing you get yourself. As long as you come up from that mindset, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, or misguided, I suppose, about it. But anyway, we were leaving the sort of shopping centre. We were messing around with yo-yo and discovering we're all incredibly bad at doing a yo-yo. And then one of my friends he looks down, because we're on this bridge part of a shopping centre, sort of overlooking the main high street, which sort of runs parallel to an area, because that's sort of an entranceway. It's an open entranceway before you get to the actual building part of a shopping centre. And he just commented, there sure seems there's a lot more people than usual. And it's a Sunday, it's late at night. We don't often go that often late at night. The other times we have gone on late at night, it hasn't been as busy as it was that day. And we were just I don't know, maybe something's going on. Then maybe the local sports team was playing, local football team was playing or something. But we were just no one's really in football jerseys or anything, so maybe it was just something going along in the bars or whatever. And we were just we didn't really think much of it. It was just more people than usual. And then we went to leave, and we actually came by car rather than by train, because it was just convenient this time. Two of my friends drove. I went with one friend, another one of my friends went with the other friend. We got dropped off all that nicely. The initial idea was we were both meant to go to this. There's 6 or so car parks in this town or whatever, but some of them end up closing a little bit earlier because everything kind of shuts down at 6 PM. But there's some other car parks which still open up throughout the entire evening or all day or whatever. The initial idea is we were both meant to go to this one car park, which I saw earlier that day through my research, because it was cheaper, because it was past 6 PM. It was considerably cheaper for the entire fare, rather than having to pay a pound something an hour. You can pay £1.50 or something for the entirety of the evening. We were just that's pretty good. So we were initially planning to go to that car park. The other two managed to do that. me and my friend, we didn't manage to, you know, it was not through like gross incompetence, it was just more like an accident which ended up happening because we used a sat nav in his car, but then like it like disconnected because sometimes it disconnects on his phone or whatever, so you know we got it up on his phone, but then you know we accidentally went to a different car park in the same town by the same company, but you know with a different name, but we didn't realize it, and I didn't clock it despite the fact I searched up car parks because I searched up all sorts of different car parks, so I recognized the car park when I saw it on Google Maps. I just didn't read the name properly. I thought I just clicked the right one, but didn't. Oh well, doesn't really matter. You know, we noticed afterwards, and it was just like, well, you know, not really a big deal because, you know, it's a car park at the end of the day, maybe we'll just pay like a couple of pounds more. It's not really like that big deal. But then, you know, when we went to leave, it was around like 10:30 or something, maybe nearing 11, I think. And, you know, me and my friend, we were just walking down the street, and there was like this massive queue just all the way up the street and like round the corner. And, you know, we were just like, we wonder what about queues for? You know, and my friend was just like, I hope that's not for a car park or anything, because, you know, we were hoping to turn down that street as well to actually get to the car park area. Lo and behold, it was for a car park. It was an insanely long queue. We were just like, what on earth happened? Why is there such a massive queue? So right now we're just all being like, oh my god, this is not good. We just want to go home. Obviously, so do all these other like 200 people. No, not 200. I'd say about 120-ish people or something also queuing up, also wanting to go home. But why is there this massive queue? You know, everyone's just trying to pay the parking fee or whatever they got for the car. But this car park got like 4 different machines or 3 different machines or something, and 2 different entrances to this entire car park. What's going on? And you know, we just like scout it out, and it turns out basically one of the machines is broken. Of the 3 machines there are to pay for your car parking in this car park, 2 of them were broken. Only one of them was currently functional, and everyone was queuing up for that one parking machine. And we were like, that seems bad. What are we can do about that then? So we were just like, okay, you know, there's two entrances to this car park. Maybe most people here don't realise there's another entrance. Let's go around to the back entrance and we'll see there. And we went to the back entrance, and that's when we found the other machine, and that machine was broken, along with that door to actually sort of like get in. Well, actually, it wasn't broken to get in, it was broken to get out. And we were just like, what? It was also kind of broken to get in. So we were just like, man, this car park sucks. This is terrible. We shouldn't have gone here, obviously. You know, it was what ended up being a simple mistake is now going to cost us like a huge amount of time. So, you know, we parked like on the top floor. And it was actually a thing when we parked. I was like, why are there so many people in this car park? You know, this car park's not nearly always all that busy. Ooh, we have a Starry Night Island. Nice. Sorry, let me have a sip of water. So we park on the top floor. We had to climb up like through the stairs. The stairways smell absolutely terrible, I must say, but not particularly well kept or anything like that. But they smell atrocious, and we were like, okay, whatever. So we get to the top floor, and by then we can see there was actually a massive queue of cars as well in the car park to actually get down. And you know, we're sitting in the car, basically being like, what are we gonna do? But you know, we saw posters as we're going up. We tried to look on the other floors for other machines first. You know, I don't know this car park particularly well. I mean, neither does he. So we're just like, maybe there's a chance there's other machines around here which we can pay for a parking ticket. We go to the other floors, no dice. Apparently there's only 3 ticket machines in this entire place, which seems like a bit of an oversight, but I suppose it's not normally this busy, which is why in the first place. So we're like, alright, this seems like a problem, maybe we can pay it on the app, because there are like posters up being like, you can pay this car park ticket or whatever using this app. And we're like, alright, excuse me. My friend was like, okay, yeah, let's try that, because I've got this app installed and I've used it sometimes. Let's see if I can pay on it, you know. But it turns out you can't pay parking tickets afterwards. You can only prepay for parking tickets in this parking lot. And we were like, all right, that seems pretty bad. What are we gonna do? So then he was just like, okay, I'm gonna queue up in this car queue, and I was like, okay, and I'll queue up in the actual like ticket queue to try and pay off a ticket, and hopefully, you know, it'll just work out timing wise. I'll be honest, I was not particularly ambitious timing wise. I'm pretty sure the car queue would have been about like 10 times faster than the actual person queue, but we were just like, okay, well, we got to try something. But luckily, you know, luckily it ended up working out. As I was queuing up, you know, I was talking to some people around, and you know, so there was like a group of girls who were clearly went out for the night, you know, in town or whatever, and they were just like, hey, do you know what's going on around here? And I was like, I'm really sorry, I have no idea why there's so many people here afterwards. There was someone on the phone in front of us, and he was just like, Oh, it's because I'm not going to say who because that's going to give away where I was. But this really famous person was playing here tonight. I was like, whoa, okay, I didn't know that's what happened. But I didn't really keep up with conversations because I was too busy basically just trying to search things, being like, how are we going to get out this car park? At the same time, my friend is being like, okay, on the top floor, and you're slowly going down, and he's just like updating me where he is at the queue, and I'm just like, I've moved forward like no positions, and you're nearly at the bottom already. This is not going to work. It turns out, because as I left, like, I was on top floor, and as I went to go join the queue, I passed a broken ticket machine, and there was someone there trying to fix the ticket machine, obviously, because the entire thing's broken. And at some point they clearly were just like, this is not going to work. We just had to let these people go. So we just opened up the gates to allow everyone basically just to leave. I got a call from my friend basically as the same time as I was doing something else, which I'll get onto in a bit. But I got a call from my friend, and he was just like, oh yeah, they just like let us all out, so I'm just like outside the back entrance, just like turn to the left and you'll see me there. And I was like, what? Weird. And I was like, well, that's really lucky because I've moved forward like 3 places in this queue. So I just left, hopped in his car, and the thing I found out simultaneously was like that actually the actual parking bay company itself have their own separate app, not the one they advertise for some reason in the parking in the parking lot, which you can use to pay tickets. So I was like, we could pay the ticket on there, and we paid the ticket on there. And he just like drove me back home, and I paid. I used his phone on the app to pay the ticket, and it was all good. It was a £5. It's not a fine. It's just the normal parking fee. And we're just like, okay, well, insult to injury. It's 3 times more expensive than what our friends had to pay just because we went to the wrong one, and we had to faff about for about 20 minutes trying to do things. But it just got me thinking about how. It's just sort of like a huge confluence of bad events. It was just one very innocent mistake. We accidentally went to the wrong parking lot. Definitely my bad, because I was the one who like looked at the parking lots earlier that day, so I probably should have known exactly which parking lot we were going to. But I just didn't realise that this was the other one. But not a big deal. Pay £3 more. £3 is not really all that much or whatever in the grand scheme of things. But then it just happened to be the day a really famous person was playing in the local venue. And it ended up causing like a huge lineup for this one parking lot, and it was only this parking lot. Like I talked to my friends afterwards, and they were just like, oh, there was basically like no queue where we were, and probably it's because all the parking machines were like completely fine. Instead of in this one where only 1 out of 3 parking machines was working in the first place. It's a pretty big parking lot as well. There's like 5 floors or something. So I would guess around. Maybe 500 spaces is a bit much. I don't know. Maybe around 400, 350 or so spaces. But I guess most of the times they don't really need free machines. It's just like that parking. I'm not going to tell you about parking lot, obviously, where it is or what it is. That parking lot, pretty terrible. But the same parking lot my friends went to by the same company, apparently great. So I don't know. That parking lot is also terrible because it doesn't even advertise anywhere that their company has a mobile app which you can use to pay for that parking thing. I had to like dig through their website, and I found it randomly, just like hidden in some random part of a website, rather than like where you normally just pay for parking tickets. Because everyone on the website was just like, pre-book your parking tickets, or like pre-book spaces and hold reservations for parking spots and lots. And I was just like, how do you just like, why do you not have an app just to pay things afterwards? And it's like, oh, they do have an app. It just takes an incredibly long time to even find it in the first place. So no, we got out of there. I can't remember how long it took. I think it took around 20 minutes, which is, longer than it needed to be. But I'm just thankful we got out. I feel sorry for all the other people there who didn't know there was an app. And I was actually saying that to my friend as we left. I was like, I should have told the people who I was talking to in line that there was an app. But the problem is I was on call to him at the same time, and I was just like, I want to get out of here immediately, because he was waiting for me because he just got out. He also said it was quite a lucky sort of like confluence, but like, a very lucky thing that we just opened the gates up for him, for everyone at the end. Otherwise, he said he would have almost certainly got down by verse, and then he would just like sort of be stuck there. Because I had a ticket to pay the ticket, and he was like, it was perhaps a little bit reckless. I was like, yeah, but it kind of worked out in the end. Well, we certainly should probably evaluate things by the intention and the information we have at the time. At the end of the day, the results we get are the results we get. So luck itself plays into a factor for not necessarily decisions, but outcomes of decisions in the first place. Oh, I didn't want me to open that up, so ended up working out. And when I called my friend on, like one of our other friends on the way home, And he was just like, no, it's completely fine. He was in bed, and he was just like, why are you calling me? It was like, oh man, we had to tell you a story. It was just a wild time in parking lots. And I gotta be honest, I don't really frequent parking lots. Like UK, you can tell, I suppose, I've been watching those viral videos about people talking about parking lots in America and the car problem in America, but like big parking lots aren't really that common in the UK. Normally they're sort of tied to supermarkets, generally because Britain's got a pretty reasonable public transport system as well. I say, it's not the best in the world. Like I think a lot of different other countries in Europe certainly do a lot better, but we got pretty good stuff. We got the London Underground, honestly a very fantastic way to get around through most places in London. We got over rail trains, which are fine, but they do get delayed sometimes, and they're also insanely expensive is the biggest problem, but at least they're reasonable. We have got a lot of coaches and buses, but buses are ubiquitous throughout all sorts of small towns everywhere. So those are normally pretty decent. So public transport in Britain's pretty good, and most of the time, you don't really see many big parking lots. As I say, they only tend to really be tied to things like big shopping centres or big supermarkets and that sort of thing. That generally is because these areas tend to be built like away in more like suburban areas, I suppose, away from big cities. Not necessarily, sometimes. They're either in the city, so they already had like public transport near them, or they're built in the like suburban areas where originally it was much more suburban, much more remote. There wasn't so much around it, and of course they built a parking lot because there was no reason to get public transport over there. But then gentrification and like building up happens because like more foot traffic gets over there because of like these attractions, so more things get built over there. So eventually it ends up sort of like formulating big congregation areas for residents to go to. But most of our parking lots we have, like the supermarket ones, I'll say, but it's always the big supermarkets, always the very American style ones where they just have a big parking lot above ground. But I feel like a very common one to see, which is also tied to supermarkets and much more so tied to shopping centres, and one which go either underground or they're stacked up like for many different layers or something, all on top of each other, to be quite compact and fast-paced. Certainly quite a nice one. They're not the most like interesting things in the world, I think, these supermarkets, but at the end of the day, it's the sort of thing where like sometimes you will need parking, car parking. Like I am someone who's very much in favour of public transport and all that sort of thing, and making cities much pedestrian friendly first, and then transport of cars especially should be like not an afterthought. It should be incorporated, but should not be a priority usage case, I suppose. But at the end of the day, sometimes you do just need to have a car to get to places, etc., etc. Cars are good for being able to have a sort of freedom to go exactly where you want, or to go to places where public transport is either insanely expensive, cost prohibitive, or inconvenient for whatever reason. It's fair enough. Or maybe you need to transport some big things here and there. It's a bit unreasonable to ask, like, say, a family of 6 or something to transport all their groceries, by hand on like a bus and then by a train or something. Fair enough to use a car for that thing. But I am sort of glad that parking lots aren't like insanely ubiquitous through the UK or anything. Like most of our parking lots I see are quite small parking lots. But like hold like probably less than like 100 cars or something, which probably seems utterly crazy or anything, but a lot. It is how it is. Like I'm trying to think, like back in my secondary school as well, like we had a parking lot like in front of a school, but it was mainly for staff members. A lot of staff members ended up taking the train, I think, rather than necessarily driving, because there weren't all that many spots in front of school. I would guess there were about 30 spots or something, parking spots, and very much not for students. Actually, we had that staff parking, but we had a side area for like parking. This is normally for like parents to come drop off their kids and leave, or other things like that. It wasn't really meant to be for permanent parking, but again, we only had like 20 spots or something, and didn't really have that many. And I always think back to because at school, you're kind of expected, if cars are coming, they're only staying for a short while. It's not like, unless you're a teacher, parents only come, drop off the kids, and then leave again, or that sort of thing. If they go by car, there's nothing really else to it. But for like, there was always like these big events which happen, like parents' evening is one. I'm trying to think of other things. There's like these big assemblies. Oh man, I just have another memory, which I'll get onto a bit. Where instead of parking in these car parking areas, you're meant to instead. We just got like parents to drive to the back of school and park in like the playground we had at the back of a school. Which is, you know, fair enough, you know, just dual usage, I suppose, for that giant tarmac space. You know, most of the time it was for the kids to play during their breaks, lunchtime breaks or whatever. I think we probably wished on enough stars by now, I'd imagine. I don't actually know if that's true, but we'll find out. Yeah, and, you know, I guess it makes sense to have like this sort of dual usage parking spaces or whatnot. I wonder if that could be incorporated more into other things, but I mean, some things you can't, like supermarkets, which tend to be open like 7 days a week. It's kind of hard to have like a dual space usage thing, unless it's something like you have a nighttime activity, which the supermarket could be used for. I don't know. But anyway, we're parking in school. But the story I have is basically because I was a prefect back in my secondary school. It wasn't about a special title. We had tons of prefects. It was basically like people in sixth form, which is the last 2 years of secondary school, could help out for things, like help out organise things. And you basically volunteer like your evening time for like once every term or something. So once every like 3 months. Once every couple of months or something, and you had to work at things like quite often, you know, there'd be like drama productions. You'd be a prefect, you'd just like guide parents around, and you'd serve drinks, which was crazy because you didn't get any training for any of this. It was so dumb. is what I can think of. But again, the teachers were doing it out of their own free time as well, but like it was so unstructured is probably what I mean. I was surprised because I remember the first time I had to do it, like, I had served drinks. Obviously I was like 17 at the time, you know, I barely knew about drinking or anything like that. We served like alcoholic drinks, and he was just like, this is how you make a mixer. Okay, the parents are going to be here in 2 minutes, make some. And I was like, what? I literally had no idea. So I was very bad the first time I did it, but then I got better. Every other time I did it, but it was I was just like surprised at how like unstructured it was. Like, well, I was there early as well, you know. I felt like we could have just been like, you know, before everything happens, or like after school, just not have a meeting. This is how you make a drink or anything. But whatever, you know. The teachers have enough on their plate in the first place. So I'm not obviously going to blame the teachers. It was just, you know, quite, you know, I suppose throw yourself into the fire. No, trial by fire. That's what I meant. I was like, that's not a phrase. Trial by fire for like our first prefecting duty. But anyway, the bigger thing which you had to do on one of these things is you had to like direct student parents for parking and that sort of thing. And I remember the first time I did it, I was like on with a group or with like a few other people, and I was just like, I haven't done the parking thing before. This is the first time I did parking because, you know, you get called to do different things, and most of the other previous times I'd done like ushering, or I'd done like food drinks duty, obviously. So I was like, this is the first time I was meant to actually do parking. So, you know, I remember talking, because we have head boys who went who were just like, okay, so we basically have a school captain who is normally the head boy, and then like the head boy, like 12 head boys, which are basically kind of just like the higher tier council, the leaders of a prefects or whatever. I remember sort of like asking, I was like, what am I meant to do like beforehand? Because, you know, I like to be prepared. And they were just like, oh, you're meant to get like these safety jackets from the sixth form office, and these walkie-talkies or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, I'll ask about, okay, yeah, I'll get those. So then I remember I went to a teacher, you know, she's like the secretary or something for that office, and I was like, so where are the safety jackets? And she was like, over there. And I was like, do I need to get them now, or like, can I get them after school, or can I get them when I need them? She was like, oh yeah, you can get them when you need them. This, you know, office is going to be unlocked after school. And I was like, awesome, fantastic. So then, you know, I was just like, okay, so clearly that means that I can collect them, you know, when I come back in the evening to actually do this duty or whatnot. And it wasn't just me, by the way, you know, who should be doing this. I want to say, you know, just to defend myself, we had like 5 other people who were doing it, including the other head boy who had done this before, I think. So I was, you know, apparently the only one who even not was trying to do it in the first place, I suppose. And then, you know, it comes around evening, you know, I go up to a sixth form office, it's locked. The entire building is locked down. Makes sense. These buildings tend to be, I guess because this building wasn't used for the thing, so I was like, oh, well, that seems like a problem, because we were meant to get the safety US and walkie-talkie. So I was like, okay, well, hopefully maybe one of the, you know, the other people on the team who was meant to help out later this evening, hopefully one of them got it. None of them got it. So I was just like, okay, well, that seems bad. I guess we had to sort of like usher people without doing this sort of thing in the first place. But the thing is, like, you needed 3 people to do a parking duty, and I, just volunteered anyway, because I was just like, well, I mean, someone's got to do it. And what you do is you have one person standing out at the front of the school, basically pointing to like go this direction, and you had 2 people at the back directing parents to go into which spaces. So they're just, no one wanted to do the one up front. And I was like, well, someone has to do it, so I guess I'll stand up front of school pointing this way. 8 p.m. in like winter time or something, it's incredibly dark or whatever. So no. And I was wearing like my black coat because I have a black coat, and I didn't think I needed to bring my like bright white coat, which I don't have. So I thought I'd be wearing a safety vest. So I was directing, parents in anyway. I was basically standing, doing the best I could, standing under like a street light, being like, go this way or whatever. And then, it was just the most rotten of luck, I suppose, was the fact that our headmaster actually, was attending this evening's like performance or something or whatever. And then I remember he got out his car and he basically very angrily sort of like started yelling at me, being like, why don't I have a safety vest or anything like that? And I was like, I tried to get it, and then he didn't actually listen to my explanation or anything, and then he just like angrily stormed off and got me a safety vest and the walkie-talkies, and I was just like, thank you. And then he just like, said I remember him muttering under his breath and being very angry at my incompetence, and I just wanted to be like, I tried to do everything right, but it's just like the circumstances didn't quite, fair enough, it is my fault, but you don't need to be so angry at me. This is the first time I did things. There are other people on my team. I tried, it was just a misunderstanding. Well, clearly the secretary thought I meant after school I could come and collect the things, but when I said after school, I meant, like during the actual evening activity. So no, that was my experience being like, I don't know, a parking lot usherer or something during sixth form. And also probably why I don't think the headmaster likes me. Liked me all that much during my time at sixth form, which it was bewildering because I basically never interacted with him, but every time I interacted with him, it seemed to be a very bad interaction. So I don't really know what's up with that. And you might be like, maybe you're reading into things wrong. And maybe I am. But I like to think I have a decent read on people. it was just bizarre. Anyway, that was a very annoying situation because, I was like, so many things, like, I didn't need to be one to be yelled at, but I was the one who had only volunteered to actually do the duty in the first place. Apparently I was the only one who try and get the safety vests or walkie-talkies or anything like that. And what, I feel like, if anything, perhaps he should have been a bit more angry at the people who were, the head boy, he's meant to be the captain of, not captain of prefects, but one of the leaders or whatever. Obviously, I'm not trying to shift blame from things, but it was just a simple misunderstanding, and I feel like it got blown far out of proportion than what it needed to be. Anyway, I didn't get hit by a car or anything, so, I guess I got kind of lucky. Then, I just kind of resented car parking duty ever since. I much prefer doing the ushering and and like pouring drinks and whatnot. Anyway, that's my story with car parking. I guess if you're on prefect duty, you need to grab safety vests early, like immediately after school, rather than at evening time, or at least ask and clarify or whatever. It was just a very annoying situation, which at the time I was just like, oh man, I really messed this up. But now looking back in retrospect, I was like, hey, I don't think that was very just accusations that were thrown around at me at the end. I felt very unfair. But well, such is life. Sometimes, stuff like that happens, misunderstanding happens, and there's good and bad with it, and it's all water off a duck's back in the end, at least from my perspective. But I had to tell that story because, like, I have all these random stories and I never end up telling anyone. But that one, like, I tend to like injustices, I suppose, and I felt like that was a very it's a blue rose. That one felt very unjust to me. Unjustified, I suppose, in the first place. I don't know why I randomly thought about that. Anyway, that's kind of long and short of it. I don't really have anything else to say, so I guess we'll sort of round up this episode here. I wonder if the headmaster still remembers me. Probably a strange thing to think about. Part of me is tempted just to actually talk to him and be like, hey, did you actually like not like me at all during secondary school? And I still find it bewildering because I like, barely spoke with him in the first place. The only times literally I ever spoke with him was to collect certificates, like at academic achievement awards. But I don't know. Anyway, here I am airing out, you know, it's not even dirty laundry, it's just like laundry, I suppose, in general. Just like general random things around. But anyway, I'm going to round off this episode here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join me, Dear Darling, Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, so farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.